On September 11, 2025, Beth Ann Hart, an activist, asked Yara, Shahidi activist, in a Forbes interview on how she felt about her world right now. Yara answered honestly by saying she is terrified and would like a plan to fix it. I empathize in that no one should live in fear. In my opinion, this sounds like a plea for help. I want to help, but how? When Yara Shahidi was younger, she did an equality speech on October 19, 2018 at the Least and Respect Awards. I argue the speech is the hypothesis to fix our world and reduce our fear. In April 2024, I published my book on Amazon based on this hypothesis, showing that prevention will lead to equity and that equity will lead to equality. This hypothesis will fix the political, economic, and social problems in her world and our world. This nonprofit, non-edited channel is a letter to Yara Shahidi and teaching Yara's hypothesis to the public in order to better our world. In the end, Yara Shahidi will get the Nobel Peace Prize for her hypothesis. This is Dear Yara Shahidi. So weird when I say that. I don't know why. Chapter 22, Healthcare Equality. Dr. King said, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and inhuman. As stated before, the racism experts have said that society has to create a socioeconomic fairness so that it can bring about trust between people. This can be applied to healthcare because 31 million people are insured. If a person is rich in the U.S., then they have access to the best doctors and medical equipment money can buy to make their lives more comfortable and healthier over a long time, or over a long life. For example, the pandemic highlighted health inequalities that have existed for years. One of these highlights were that people died from COVID-19 because they lacked access to health care and health insurance. This shows that healthcare equality is needed to make Dr. King's dream of equality for all come true. A lot of tongue-tied. What do we do? In my world, I have experienced a lack of health insurance. For instance, I ripped my anterior cruciate ligament, or ACL, in my knee after playing football with friends on October 2001. I waited 5 years to have the surgery to repair it because I couldn't afford health insurance as a college student. The 2-year college I went to did not offer any health insurance. When I went to Southern Oregon University, a 4-year college, When I went to Southern Oregon University, a 4-year college, they had student insurance and the monthly payments were cheap. After a year being on the health insurance, I was able to get the ACL surgery. As one doctor told me, the student insurance was not so good. But as I told him then, it was the best insurance I could get at the time. I couldn't use the health insurance right away because they wanted a 6-month guarantee of continuous monthly payments by me before I could use it for anything, including surgeries. I wish I had the ACL surgery. I wish I had the ACL surgery back in October 2001 because another problem arose from it. I was diagnosed with tailbone dysfunction, or my tailbone is rotated. The best way I can describe it, what I feel is that my right hip is rotated forward and my left hip is rotated backwards. In other words, my right leg is longer than my left leg, and it has twisted my entire body counterclockwise as I look forward. From this rotation, I can't run a mile anymore because my right hip gives out. I also can't bench press or leg press anymore because it will cause injury to my shoulder or knee from the lack of symmetry in my form. In other words, my right arm and right leg are longer than my left counterparts, and the exercises can't be done properly with good balance. I start to hurt if I try to do the exercises. Also, from the twist are my headaches. Believe me, they are not fun. If I have one, then I'm done for the day and I have to sleep it off to get rid of it. I have gone to many doctors to deal with the problem. This problem. It took just 10 doctors just to diagnose what I have. I felt relieved just to find out what was going on with me because all 9 doctors before thought that it was all in my head. The funny part was the doctor that diagnosed me was a happy accident because the doctor that was supposed to see me was sick. The happy accident doctor diagnosed me right away as soon as I walked in the room. I was so relieved and elated what he said. When he said that, he said that most doctors are not specialized in this type of injury. He explained this is why I had to go through so many doctors to get this diagnosis. To find a cure for what I have is for me to go to a major city like Portland, Oregon, where they have doctors that specialize in this type of injury, like sports medicine rehabilitation. I can't afford that, and plus I am on government insurance or the Oregon Health Plan. This insurance will not pay fully for an out-of-area doctor, especially for physical therapy. In the end, I've been dealing with this problem for 20 years, and I do not see any answers on how I can cure myself anytime soon. This is the inequality I have felt, and this is why Dr. King's healthcare equality for all is so badly needed for so many Americans. How do you create healthcare equality for all? I argue that healthcare equality can be achieved with prevention. For example, when I go to my doctor's office, they always give me a pamphlet on health prevention. In the pamphlet are different age categories like birth to 18, 19 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 74, and 75 and over. In each category, they have sections like checkups, screening tests, immunizations, men's health, women's health, and dental exams and cleanings. The pamphlet says it is using prevention to help the patient work with their doctor to learn what screening tests and immunizations are right for this person and to complete them on time. The pamphlet also pushes for the person to eat healthy, exercise, don't smoke, have less stress, etc., and describes how to do each one thoroughly. The pamphlet urges prevention to help the patient on focusing on better health by avoiding cardiovascular diseases, obesity, diabetes, cancer, etc. The pamphlet ends by explaining that major diseases can be avoided with a healthy lifestyle and diseases. My God, I have like heartburn or something. Sorry. The pamphlet ends by explaining that major diseases can be avoided with a healthy lifestyle, and diseases, if caught early, can be cured with a lifetime of continuous checkups with the doctor. The pamphlet is from Siskiyou Community Healthcare Center from 2015 to 2016, and it's called Partnering for Your Best Health with Checkups, Screenings, and Immunizations. In order to create healthcare equality, students will learn to be advocates for their health on their IP from 2 years old to graduation. Students will know and understand that their choices and environment are most influential in preventing diseases. Yes, genetics does play a part in health. When students learn about their family history, then they can use preventative measures to not get their family diseases. For example, my grandparents died of skin cancer and ovarian cancer when I was little. To prevent skin cancer from happening to me, my mother took me to the doctor every year since my grandparents' death to have my moles checked. I have continued this preventative practice into my adult years to prevent skin cancer. I have the same type of moles that killed my grandfather, and I don't want to die early because I have so much to live for. When I see the doctor, they check and remove any moles from my body that are suspicious. In this way, I have control over my family genetics as with any other human if they use prevention. When students learn about their family history, their choices, their environment, their screenings, and their immunizations, and why they are important with scientific evidence given to them, then they can be advocates for themselves. For example, students will learn why eating too much red meat is bad for them and why eating salads are better. Sorry, it's just They will also know why drinking water is better for them than sugar drinks because of the dehydration sugar drinks cause. And this is why the sugar crash causes temporal mood swings that can follow from a lack of energy. Students will also know that not getting enough sleep can be bad for their health. For example, irritability, moodiness are some of the first signs a person experiences lack of sleep. If a person doesn't get any sleep, then they will experience apathy, slowed speech, and impaired memory. Students will also know if they continue not getting enough sleep, then this will lead to them being more prone to depression, anxiety, obesity. This is why 7 to 9 hours is the recommended amount of sleep experts say is needed. The students will learn how to sleep so they can learn how to keep up their empathy for others, not apathy from a lack of sleep. This is just a small amount of the health subjects that will be covered for students to understand themselves fully. As with other subjects, students will learn about these health subjects on their own with the teacher in their IEP, and then work in scientific groups from Lamana Plus to understand fully how prevention can keep them healthy over a lifetime. Besides becoming advocates for themselves in education, students will know if they need prescribed drugs from a doctor to be normal, so to speak. I argue that students are overly prescribed and that physical therapy is a better solution. If a student is prescribed by a doctor for a drug, then the IEP will be evaluated by 2 outside doctors randomly after an individual study is done on the child, published and peer-reviewed. If the 2 doctors can recommend physical therapy with evidence, then physical therapy should be done. But the opposite can be done for the drug recommendation as well. This will help the child navigate better in understanding their ailments and strengths when it comes to their health. Students will also learn about reducing their pain if they ever encounter it. On Jefferson Public Radio on Jefferson Public Radio in Southern Oregon, on PBS Radio, they had a segment on dealing with pain. 50 million Americans suffering from chronic pain. On the radio, they talked about military medical doctors from Iraq and Afghanistan treating soldiers on the battlefield with nerve blockers and acupuncture for pain instead of drugs. Now, if soldiers were getting this type of treatment from their injuries, then 50 million people from chronic pain could receive the same treatment without the addiction other drugs have or could have. Further research is needed, but it would help millions of Americans and students growing up to deal with pain properly without the fear of becoming a junkie. Students will also learn about other research that needs to be done with technology humans have today. For example, all cancers can be cured. This can be done with engineered T cells that are able to read MR1 on cancer cells and kill all human cancers and tumors. But more research is needed on how the T cell is able to read the MR1 in cancer cells, and experiments have only been done in mice. Plus, a military organization called DARPA claimed that they have the technology today to defeat all coronaviruses with a single vaccine, and it will be ready in 5 years. This means that the common cold, this pandemic's virus, and thousands of other viruses and future pandemic viruses will be a thing of the past. This is science fact, as one scientist claims, and it is just a matter of time when they will develop it. The last thing are genetic tests for diseases. They are not perfected yet, but if they are, then they can help the individual know their genetic makeup and use prevention as a way to prolong life. Further research is needed on all 3 of these cases in medicine. If students understand the need to help themselves and their offspring to prevent diseases from hurting the human race, then we as humans will be one step closer to controlling Mother Nature on the small virus scale at least, and finally become a type 1 civilization. This is all great and all, but how do you pay for prevention in healthcare? When students are in school, they will learn about prevention insurance. Prevention insurance begins at 2 years old to graduation to adulthood to death. This insurance is private or public, depending on a person's income and how much the private company wants to make a profit. Whatever the case, the insurance will be the same. I rather prefer it to be private insurance and let the market determine the price. A student from 2 years old to graduation will become an advocate of their own health by knowing their own family history. Plus, they will use prevention in seeing the doctor and dentist during regular checkups and understand when to get immunizations if needed. This prevention pattern will be done from 2 years old to graduation to adulthood to death. In this way, there will be a comprehensive preventative record of from the individual from birth to death. Why is this important? When a person sees a doctor, the doctor will record the session by saying out loud or by educating the public by saying what they are doing or inspecting, etc. As explained before, this will be just like what a plumber, electrician, mechanic does on This Old House on PBS. The doctor will say in detail, as if educating the public, what in detail they are doing to the patient, from a doctor's visit to surgery or to a dentist looking at a patient's teeth. Everyone will be recorded. This transparency does a few things. First, it prevents another Larry Nassar from abusing girls on the Olympic gymnastics team. Second, the insurance company will have a copy of the examination from the doctor. The insurance company will have a transparent copy on exactly what they are paying for without any excuses for fraud. This transparency will make the doctor's insurance go down from being sued all the time. This is good for the customers and doctors wanting to help people. Third, the health system will save money from wasteful spending on hospital stays and surgeries. For example, heart disease requires hospital stays and surgeries depending on the severity, but with preventative measures like eating right and exercising, then heart disease will never manifest and hospital stays and surgeries will never happen. This means the health system saves a lot of money. Saves a lot of money with preventative insurance made affordable to everyone who wants to live a long and healthy life. Finally, the patient gets a copy of every recorded session as well. This copy is given to the patient in case they feel something was done wrong to them in the doctor's visit or the surgery was a disaster. If this is the case, a microloan could be taken out to see a lawyer, or a free lawyer could look at the tape to see if there is a case. Also, when a judge looks at the tape, then they will have the entire transparency of the tape at their leisure to look at without the lies or deceit or biased truth coming from the witnesses. The tape can be used to sue the insurance company too. If they refuse to pay for a surgery or doctor visit, or whatever the case may be, this transparency is a tool to protect the doctor, the patient, the insurance company, and legal system for any abuse or fraud that may occur. Why does the length of the time matter to insurance? A lot of the times, for people to do or understand something, it has to be easy and work for them. Prevention insurance does both. From the pamphlet that I was given for prevention to work for me, I would have to see the doctor once a year to check my vitals, another doctor to check my moles, or a dermatologist, and a visit a dentist twice a year. This is the basic minimum for me. All 4 visits on average clear me without any complications, but if something comes up, like an irregular mole, then I will have it cut out to prevent the cancer from forming. This saves me enormous amounts of money. If I had let my moles grow to a regular size, then I would probably get cancer. If I had cancer, then I would pay a buttload of money. I would have to pay for the hospital visits, to see the doctors, for radiation, chemotherapy, and surgeries just to stay alive. Plus, it relieves me of the stress from having cancer Plus, it relieves me of the stress from having cancer as well. Yeah, that's right. Peace of mind with the prevention is something you can't put a price on. Now, if I was doing a monthly payment of preventative insurance, then I would pay the minimum because I'm doing what the doctor recommends by exercising, eating right, flossing, brushing every day, and meditating by reducing my stress. All this is recorded by the doctor in my vital numbers and videos and given to the insurance company. When the insurance company sees my preventative vital numbers and videos, then they would charge the minimum amount each month to stay out of the hospital and not to have cancer. Why is this important? I argue that prevention insurance minimizes costs. The healthcare system used today is only used when the problem has occurred. This is why costs for health insurance and hospitals are so high. Also, costs are high because of the millions of uninsured that do not trust the healthcare system because they believe it doesn't work for them. I know this will work because I learned it in my college classes. Plus, there's a whole field of medicine called preventive medicine. If anyone reads anything from this field, then they would claim the same thing I am saying now. It is just amazing how the answers are all right there, but no one is putting them into effect. Dr. King's dream is realized, but nothing has been done about it. This is really the question I would like answered. What happens with people if they don't take care? What happens with people if they don't take the doctor's advice or go to checkups or do immunizations? Well, I was this person too. For example, I'm a person who can gain weight easily. I gained 20 pounds in 1 month. The heaviest I've ever been was 50 pounds overweight. I was so big that I couldn't see my own penis. What happened? When that happened, I got scared and lost all the weight. Well, if this was me under preventative insurance, being so fat, then the videos and vital numbers recorded by the doctor and then given to the insurance would raise my monthly dues each month. This would be horrible to 50-pound overweight me because I couldn't afford it. The great thing now is that there is help to get back to normal, so to speak, to become healthier, and this will reduce the monthly costs from the insurance. It is the effort that makes all the difference when it comes to vitals for a healthier person. The only problem is that it takes work to be a healthy and stay healthy. For some people, it is just eating better or working out, for both. With some people, it is just a psychological issue that needs to be worked out to be a healthier person. This is why it is so vital that students start at 2 years old to graduation so that they can be taught and become advocates for their own health. If they do not, then the longevity on their life will lengthen. If they do that, then the longevity on their life will lengthen without the stress of stroke, heart attacks, or diabetes looming over them. Are there other consequences to preventative insurance? The whole point of preventative insurance is transparency, and that the patient is doing the work to be healthy from an early age to graduation to adulthood to death. They will be immersed in it in school. Now, with every system created by humans, there will be people who fall off the wagon, so to speak. What happens to them? Well, for these people, the consequence is to go back to school and learn why the system works for them long term and how prevention is cheaper than taking care of things in the moment for healthcare. They will pay for the classes, but if a further fine is needed, then it should be based on the individual's personal income and the court of law, if it is needed. In this way, fairness can be established for people who falter and need help getting back up on their feet to take care of their health. The reason why prevention insurance works is that it is established to help the individual have the insurance to pay the bills, but also to take care of their health long term till death. The second reason is that the individual can fight the system if needed with the evidence given to them after every visit to a doctor or dentist. Lastly, if the individual fails in life, then the education, assistance, and a consequence based on the individual's income and in an individual study, if need be, can help the individual get back on their feet to take care of their health long term. In the end, everyone wants a life with good health attached to it. This is why prevention does this. For example, if people feel they have a purpose in life, then they will have impulse control. In a healthcare setting, this is outstanding because most impulse thinking can be linked to drugs, alcohol, obesity, gambling, cheating, or addiction behavior overall. Many diseases are linked to addictive behaviors. Obesity is linked to diabetes, heart attacks, and strokes, just to name a few. I'm not saying this is the key to stopping impulse thinking and all these bad behaviors that come with it, but the idea of reducing these addictive behaviors is the overwhelming idea behind prevention. This is why immersion for healthcare from 2 years old to graduation is necessary. It keeps the student focused on what is important to them, like their purpose of life, relationships, being happy, finding God, etc. Instead of someone they don't want to be in life, like a junkie. This is why prevention works so well with healthcare, because it is all about the individual. When the individual is helped across the board, then society becomes healthy overall. When this happens, Dr. King's dream comes true, racism goes away, and finally the individual to society, to the state, to the nation, to the world will receive healthcare equality. So simple. Ich ni san chi go. Kuju. Konnichiwa, Laloon, Wibi. Hola, buenos dias. We all went together.